I'm Mila. I'm 27 and I live in Seattle. Most days feel the same. I wake up in my small Capitol Hill apartment, drink plain black coffee, and take the bus to my tech job as a product manager. My life isn't fancy, but I worked hard for it. I don't waste money. I keep things simple. Not because I love being frugal, because most of my paycheck goes to my family. My mom is a retired nurse with health problems. I pay for her medicine and checkups. My dad has uneven work, so I've helped keep their Tacoma house from falling behind. And my little sister Savannah, 23, has been figuring things out for years. When she dropped out, got behind on rent, or ran up credit cards, I was the one who saved her. I told myself that's what a good daughter and sister does. But it cost me everything. I canceled trips I dreamed about. I gave up savings I worked years to build. I passed on risks at work because I had to stay stable. I even ended a good relationship because I knew my family would always come first. And after all of that, they still sat there laughing at me like I was the joke. So when Savannah tried to embarrass me, something finally broke. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just told the truth. And for the first time, I meant it. I'm done paying for people who don't respect me. All I got back was mockery. My hand shook on the table, not because I wanted to scream, but because I finally saw the truth. I had been used for years, and I had let it happen. That night I drove from Tacoma to Seattle without saying a word. The I-6 was loud and busy, but it felt far away. In my head, I kept hearing my sister's jokes and my parents' laughter like a cruel replay. When I got to my small Capitol Hill apartment, I didn't even turn on the lights. I sat in the dark, listened to the clock, and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account. The numbers hit me hard. There were transfers everywhere. $750 for Savannah's school. $3,200 for my mom's car. $27,000 for my dad's mortgage. $2,200 to cover Savannah's credit card. It just kept going. Small amounts, big amounts year after year. I checked the yearly totals. Every year, I sent about $31,000 to $21,000. Over 7 years, it was more than $80,000. That money could have been my condo down payment. A new car. The MBA I wanted. But it was gone, spent on emergencies that never ended and never got paid back. I sat there, frozen. My chest felt tight. It wasn't just money I lost. I lost time. Love. Chances. I was their backup plan, and they treated it like I owed them. Then something changed. The anger turned into clarity. I wasn't a bank. I wasn't a rescue service. I was a person, and I deserved my own life. So I opened the transfer app, the one I used to send money every month, and I hit cancel recurring transfer. It took seconds, but it felt like breaking chains. 3 days later, the messages started. My mom, the mortgage is due soon. Did you send the money? My dad left a voicemail, this house needs you. Don't let us suffer. Savannah texted, stop being dramatic. Just send it. You always do. For the first time, I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't beg them to understand. I deleted the voicemail. I turned off my phone. The next few days were worse. My mom tried guilt. My dad called me selfish. Savannah begged, then blamed me again. I read it all, but I stayed quiet. And with every quiet moment, I felt stronger. That Friday night, I opened a notebook and wrote one sentence. No more plan B. Then I made a list for myself. Save for my own home. Take care of my health. Spend time with real friends. Apply for the MBA I kept delaying. Closing that notebook felt like choosing myself for the first time. A week later, my mom sent a short text, come home for dinner Sunday. We need to talk. It didn't feel like an invite. It felt like a command. On Sunday, I went. The table was set, but the room felt cold. My dad sat stiff and angry. My mom moved plates around too hard. Savannah sat back with a smug look, pretending not to care. Nobody spoke at first. Then my mom said, "This family can't work without your help. You make good money. You should support us. We sacrificed for you, now it's your turn." I looked at her and said calmly, "That's not help. That's using me." Savannah laughed and threw in another insult, "You act so proud, but you're still single. If I were you, I'd be embarrassed." I stayed steady. "I work for my money. You only spend it. Without me, you would have lost everything a long time ago." My mom jumped in, "Don't talk to your sister like that. She's young. You're the older one, be forgiving." I said, "Forgiving doesn't mean letting people walk over me. I'm not a bottomless wallet. I've given for years, and you still mock me." Then my dad slammed his hand on the table. "Watch your mouth. This is your home. Know your place. You only have what you have because we raised you." I pushed my chair back and stood up. My whole body shook, but my voice stayed clear. "If you only see me as money, then I don't belong here. I kept this house afloat, and all I got was disrespect. I'm done." I grabbed my coat and walked out. My mom called after me, "Mila, come back. We're family." I didn't turn around. I drove back to Seattle with a heavy chest and a small, growing freedom. But a week later, the real storm hit. On a Friday afternoon, I got a big envelope from the bank. I thought it was just paperwork. Then I opened it. Inside were loan documents. Big ones. At the top it said, "Home Equity Line of Credit Agreement." I flipped through fast, and my stomach dropped. My name was on it. My social security number. My address. And a signature that looked like mine, but wasn't. It was fake. They had used my identity to borrow money, almost $60,000, tied to the Tacoma house. And the signing date? 3 weeks earlier. Just days after I said I was done paying. This wasn't just disrespect anymore. This was betrayal. They crossed the last line. They treated my signature like a small detail they could fake, just to save the same house I had already saved again and again. I picked up the papers with shaking hands. Part of me wanted to believe it was a mistake. They're my family. How could they do this? But another part of me answered, cold and clear, because they've always used you. And when you finally said no, they chose crime instead of change. The worst pain wasn't even the debt. It was the trust breaking for good. That night I couldn't eat or sleep. I sat in my dark apartment, with only a streetlight coming through the window. The loan packet sat on my table like proof of a betrayal. My mind raced. How did they get the loan? Who forged my name? Did someone at the bank ignore the signs? Did they even think about what this could do to me? If the loan went unpaid, my credit could be destroyed. My chance to buy a home could disappear. Even my job could be affected. My phone kept buzzing. My mom texted, "Mila, are you okay? Your dad and I handled something for the house. Don't worry." My dad wrote, "The bank took care of it. We did this to keep the house." I stared at the messages. There was no apology. No shame. Just excuses. We did it for the family. That word, family, hit like a knife. Growing up, my mom used to say, family is who you can trust. Now that same family had turned me into a debtor with a fake signature. In that moment, I knew there was no going back. This wasn't hurt feelings anymore. This was fraud. Real, serious, and dangerous. I gathered the papers, put them in a folder, and slid it into my desk drawer. I stayed awake all night, staring at the lights across the street, feeling like I had stepped into a new world, one where family wasn't safe. At 5:50 a.m., I whispered to myself, they betrayed me. I won't forget. On Monday morning, I called the bank. A woman answered, "Wells Fargo, how can I help you?" I kept my voice steady and told her my identity had been used for a loan I never approved. She asked a few questions, then said, "You need to contact our fraud department right away. And you should speak to a lawyer. Forgery and identity theft are serious." When I hung up, my hands were still shaking, but for the first time, I felt a small spark of power. The next day, I searched for a Seattle lawyer who handled fraud and identity theft. One name kept showing up, Rachel Nguyen. People said she had experience with cases where family members stole or used someone's identity. I called and booked an appointment. By Monday afternoon, I was sitting in her office near downtown. The room was bright and clean. Rachel looked calm and focused. She shook my hand, then nodded for me to sit. I placed the documents on her desk. She read each page carefully. Then she looked up and said, "Mila, this is a crime. Forgery. Fraud. Identity theft. Your family didn't just borrow money, they broke the law." Hearing it said out loud made my stomach turn, even though I already knew. Rachel continued, "You can report this to the bank. You can fight to remove your name from this loan. And if needed, we can take legal action." I swallowed and said softly, "But they're my parents. And my sister." Rachel's voice stayed firm. "Being family doesn't make this okay. And it doesn't mean you have to accept it. You have the right to protect your future." I sat there, torn. A part of me still wanted peace. Still wanted to stay quiet. But then I saw that fake signature in my mind again. The $60,000. My parents' cold messages. And I knew, if I stayed silent this time, I could lose everything, money, safety, and myself. I lifted my head. "I'm done staying quiet. Please help me." Rachel nodded. "We'll start now. And remember, this time, you're not alone." When I stepped outside, the wind hit my face hard. But inside, I felt clearer than I had in years. I knew it would get messy. I knew it would hurt. But I was finally choosing myself. That night, I followed Rachel's steps. I froze my credit so nobody could open new accounts in my name. I changed every password, email, banking, shopping, everything. I opened a new bank account at a different bank and moved most of my savings, somewhere my family didn't know about. For the first time in a long time, my money felt safe. And something else changed too. I started treating my life like it mattered. The next morning, I signed up for a yoga class near my apartment. My body felt stiff and shaky, but when the instructor softly said, "Let go," tears slipped down my face. I had been holding everything in for years. I started cooking simple meals at home instead of living on takeout. My apartment began to feel like a real home, not just a place to collapse after work. At work, I finally had energy. I threw myself into a project that had been stuck for months. I focused. I stayed late. And for the first time in a long time, I felt proud. One afternoon my boss, Matthew, paused at my desk and said, "Excellent work, Mila. You feel different lately, in a good way." That one sentence stayed with me all day. 3 days after my meeting with Rachel, she sent a formal letter to the bank demanding an investigation. I saw the email and read the words "suspected forgery" in black and white. It was real now. It wasn't just fear in my head. It was a case. And I started saving everything my family sent me, every text, every voicemail, every threat, every sweet message. I made a folder on my laptop and named it Evidence. Every time I listened again, it hurt. But it also made me stronger. I saved every message so they could never pretend it didn't happen. Still, some nights were hard. I remembered the good parts, family dinners with real laughter, my mom's hugs when I was little, my dad holding my bike steady while I learned to ride. Then I'd see the forged papers in my mind again, and the non-stop begging calls would come back like noise in my ears. Those memories were real, but they were old. Now, family wasn't a safe place. It was something I had to protect myself from. So I built a new routine on purpose. I went to work calm. I showed up to yoga. I cooked dinner at home. I kept reminding myself, Mila, you deserve care too. And every evening, as my evidence folder got bigger, I knew I wasn't just trying to survive anymore. I was getting ready to face them as a person, not as a wallet. One night, I sat by the window with tea in my hands and the city lights in front of me. I didn't feel shaky anymore. I felt steady, like a small fire that wouldn't go out. I whispered, this time I won't back down. Rachel and I worked for almost a week. She helped me collect everything, bank records, transfer proofs, emails, even old receipts I had stuffed in drawers. When we added it all up, the number shocked me. $98,666 in 7 years. Not a few payments. Not help here and there. Almost $85,000, my lost trips, my delayed plans, the chances I never took. Rachel put it all into a thick binder with colored tabs, my payments, the fake loan, Savannah's debt history, late notices, canceled cards, old eviction warnings. Looking at it made me sick, and ready. That Sunday, I drove back to Tacoma. The house was the same from the outside, peeling fence, creaky porch, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I walked in holding the binder tight. The room was heavy. My mom kept shuffling papers and avoided my eyes. My dad sat stiff in his chair. Savannah leaned against the wall with a smug half-smile like she was daring me. I set the binder on the table. The sound was loud in the quiet room. I'll be clear, I said. This is the record of everything I've paid for this family in 7 years, almost $85,000. This is the proof the loan in my name was forged. And these are Savannah's debt records. I slid the pages toward them. No one spoke. My dad started to talk, but I lifted my hand. No. Listen. I'm not your lifeline anymore. You have 11 days to remove my name from every loan, especially that home equity loan. If it's not fixed in 11 days, I will take legal action for forgery and fraud. I looked at each of them. My mom looked smaller. Savannah's face lost color. My dad gripped the chair arm hard. This isn't a threat, I said. It's the deadline. The room went dead quiet. I could hear the clock ticking. My mom finally whispered, Mila, you can't do this. This is your home. I gave a short, cold laugh. No. This is the house I kept standing. But it stopped being my home a long time ago, because the people inside it only saw me as money. My dad slammed his hand on the table. That's how you talk to your parents? I stood up, picked up the binder, and said evenly, I talk like this because it's true. 30 days. I won't say it again. Then I walked out. Outside, the sky was gray and heavy, but inside, I felt clear. No guilt. No shaking. Just relief, like I had finally put down a weight I carried too long. 3 weeks later, Rachel called. The bank finished the investigation, she said. They confirmed the signature was forged. You're removed from all liability. I sat still, eyes burning. Years of being used. Years of being ignored. And now, finally, it was official, I was free. Rachel added, from now on, they have to carry it themselves. That night, I opened a bottle of wine and sat on my balcony. The air was crisp. For the first time in years, I felt truly light. Later, I found out the Tacoma house was for sale, not from my parents, but from public records Rachel told me to watch. The house photo came up online with a bold red label, for sale. It hit me with a mix of sadness and of course. They couldn't refinance after the fraud was confirmed. The bank wouldn't bend. So the debt forced them to sell the house I once thought would always be there. Savannah called one time, crying. You really let it come to this? The house is gone. I don't know where to go. I listened quietly. A year ago, I would have rushed to fix it. I would have sent money without thinking. This time I said, gently, Savannah, you have to learn to stand on your own. I can't keep doing it for you. Then I hung up, heart sore, but lighter. A week later, my mom texted, Sunday dinner. One last meal in the house. Can you come? I hesitated, then agreed, not out of duty, but because I wanted to see the ending with my own eyes. That night, the house felt empty. Boxes everywhere. Bare rooms. Cold hallways. Dinner was simple, and no one talked much. My dad looked older. My mom's hands moved slowly. Savannah's eyes were red. After we ate, I finally spoke. I'm not cutting you off. I'm still your daughter. Still Savannah's sister. But I'm not the lifeline anymore. If someone falls, they have to learn how to get back up. No one argued. No one begged. Only silence. I walked through the hallway and saw boxes labeled kitchen, bedroom, books. My childhood packed into cardboard. At the door, I took a breath of cold night air and said one last thing. I hope you find a way forward. But I can't live your lives for you anymore. Then I stepped off the porch and left that piece of my youth behind. That house used to trap me with invisible guilt. When it was gone, the chains broke too. After that, I threw myself into work. My project crushed the goals, and in our quarterly meeting my boss, Matthew, said I was the reason it succeeded. A few months later, I got promoted to senior product manager. For the first time, my wins were mine, no family drama, no money demands. I also rebuilt my life outside work. I joined a cooking class and made real friends who liked me for me. I started volunteering to help kids learn STEM, and it felt good to give my time, not just my cash. I ran around Green Lake, read at cafes, cooked dinner, and called friends just to laugh. My phone stayed quiet. And that quiet felt like peace. One cold December night, I stood on my balcony, Seattle glowing below, and smiled. I finally understood, my worth isn't in saving everyone else. It's in building my own life and staying close to people who truly care.